it's good theory. How does an organization get there? How does an organization get to an identity-centric architecture so that they can lay the foundation for zero trust? And what sort of pitfalls would they commonly foresee? If you can
Yeah,
enumerate a
so
few that
I
will
will not say just the zero trust because you can't reach to a zero trust without having few other core foundational services or identity and access management practices in place in your organization and respective to our multi-cloud environment. So the real example is like many organization struggles with having, I will say these are can be the low hanging fruits as like single IDP plus federation basically. If we look in many organizations, your authentications and authorizations are happening across different silos within the organization. And just not about the modern applications, even the problem is even more complex with when there are old and legacy application. And that problem is there even more prominent in many industries like healthcare, manufacturing, uh, where there are many tools which are being built 50, 60, even 70 years back, and they are still relying on that for their core functions. So if an organization kind of first focus on simple having a single IDP or a federation and start with don't boil the ocean that bring your single ID, like bring your legacy system to the single IDP, bring your modern system first to a single IDP. Like as I said, multi-cloud, they might be talking to different IDPs, bring them together into one IDP or federate against one IDP. And then start with your critical applications. You can have different parameters for that. You can use your risk-based approach to kind of decide which application to go first. So that's one area you can focus on. And then second area I will say is the MFA. Enable MFA. These days, the tools are very simple to integrate, and specifically with modern apps, even some legacy apps also, these tools are very flexible to be integrated to provide an MFA. So at least you are securing your environment or organization assets and the data, because data is the king over there, and it's been king for many years. So these two things, if you start doing it and then moving towards standardizing the role and naming and access patterns, that can be another area, but that is itself is a big domain to kind of
sure.
boil there. Then you have another area is privilege access management, which I will say within identity and access management space, the sequence goes in, people talk about first or organization focused on IDPs, single sign-on, those concepts, and then they go on identity governance because of the compliance need, and then they focus on the third area, which is privilege access management. But I will like to say many organizations to think from this perspective that if you bring your privilege access management to your primary focus area, then you are reducing your risk very fast. The reason why I'm saying is there are a lot of domain admins, your Linux root accounts, Windows local admin accounts, and different servers, which if you even secure those, then you are securing your most high risk accounts quickly. And then you can, in parallel, then you can focus on all the other domains within identity and access management. But many organizations, what they have done in the past is they start with the single sign-on and the federation, and then they focus on IG, and then they last think about the privilege access management, which, as I said, like in analyst research and or data points out that password leakage is the biggest risk and biggest area where hacks has happened. So these are the, I will say, few low hanging fruits or a quick adoption methodology or approach which many organization can take, and then they can also focus on automated joiner mover lever life cycle management and centralized identity and access management logging. These are the other areas, but in today's modern IAM space, we are trying to automate or JML processes very quickly as compared to in the past. Many products are using AI and other uh, tools to kind of evolve or adapt to those new, faster adoption of identity and access management tool.
Sure. Um, Regarding that thing where you mentioned about, maybe prioritizing PAM. So ultimately, I would say organizations should take a risk-based prioritization, right? So what works for one organization maybe won't work for another, and maybe prioritization will also be determined like that. But I definitely agree that it is more tempting to look at the metric around what affects a large number of users, like lifecycle management or SSO and things like
Yeah.
that, and to take that up. And sometimes it is perceived that PAM addresses a smaller number of users, and hence maybe the security risk footprint is not that big. Well, two things stand out. One, those users are extremely powerful. That's really the first thing. And the second thing is, given the rise of non-human identities, there is a very good chance that non-human identities will outstrip in terms of count the number of human users you actually have in the system,
Mhm.
which means that that assumption is no longer holding true, that the number of users in PAM or the number of identities we manage in PAM will be much less than what you have elsewhere. So I think that's also spun things on the head over the last few years.
Agreed. I can't rather less on that, Ankush. And also, if we look at the segregation or the separation of different types of identities, is kind of blurring over the years as well. Like previously, when I started my career, it was very segregated that you have these workforce identities, which are human and simple service accounts, are non-human identities, and then customer identities were very separate and your business partner identities were very separate. But if you look at now, many of the applications are being accessed by even workforce, by your consumers, and also by your business partners, and even non-human identities which were already there. But now there is another area which is bot, which can act as we started our discussion, which can act as both human and non-human. So that's where it is now becoming more and more complex, and line is very much kind of blurring of from these standpoint. And that's where the zero trust and identity within IAM needs to kind of go hand in hand in these areas.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Multiple personas interacting is something that we see in particular in industries like healthcare and education, where the same individual, may be responsible for teaching a course, may also be a research assistant, may also be a student enrolled in some other course,
Yeah,
maybe a staff member, maybe an IT admin as well for certain
right.
things. So, uh, multiple personas definitely a thing, especially for some industries. So, thanks, Amit, for laying out, say, a sort of a high-level blueprint, on say how can something like this be, embraced by organizations who want to walk down that path.